What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to another Black Desert video. So today I wanted to give my take on an interesting topic, especially for new players, what your first 100 hours of Black Desert is probably going to look like. And the reason why I brought this up is because a lot of my friends were like, oh, I want to play this game again. And they're either returning players or they just heard of it through some ad or something. But anyway, I wrote down a list of like what your experience the first 100 hours is, and I kind of want to break that down into like your first 25, 50, 75, 100, what you should be doing. So whether you're thinking of trying the game or, you know, returning to the game like from years ago, I think this is what most people would be doing. And yeah, so overall, your first 100 hours is probably going to be the most fun of the game, just because you're experiencing everything for the first time and you're doing all the story questing, whether you enjoy that or not. But overall, you're learning, you're getting gear a lot faster than, you know, add-in game players, so it feels like you're actually making progress. So that's always nice. Anyway, with that said, I made a list of things that I think are pretty important to do. This is your first 25 hours in this game, what you should be doing. And number one, trying out different characters is probably the number one thing, is finding something you enjoy the most. And then, you know, that's what most players do. They try something, you either like it or you don't at the beginning, and then just, you know, try finding something that like works with you. So after that, I would say start on the season servers, simply because season is like the tutorial of the game, more or less. The transition from seasons to main, like, you know, non-seasons is actually really smooth in this game. The reason why you do that is because Tuvala gear is significantly a faster jump than just going straight into the game. It tells you a lot of things. The gear enhancement is a lot easier with that. And it's more of like a directed path. So it's like, here, do this, this, this. Here's the season pass. Like on PC and console, there'll be an icon at the top that'll be like, here's your season progression pass. And it gives you like objectives to do, and you just do that. So, yeah, overall, it teaches you the game in a very easy way. Season gives a lot of rewards. So even veteran players like myself, we do season rushes every now and then. And yeah, it's something to look into. So yeah, for newer players, people will be on season characters for probably a lot longer than the rest of us. Veteran players I know can literally clear the entire list in like 2 hours. But like if you're a first time player, just take your time. Fun fact, back in the day, for seasonals, there actually used to be a time limit because, you know, obviously seasons, you had one every quarter. But now it's like permanent. So never feel rushed to finish it. Always just go at your own pace. Ultimately, at the end of the day, it's a video game, so you just play it at your own time. So anyway, that's always cool. Play the season character at your own pace. Just do everything. The next thing I'd recommend is, well, you should be doing this from the start before you even play your character, is mess around with the settings. Now, I know console doesn't have as many settings as PC, which is actually kind of infuriating. You can watch my console videos, so I'm like, why isn't this there? But anyway, I'm not going to go over all the settings, but the ones that I think are extremely important for new players is going under here in the general settings, and you see all these alerts. These are on by default. You turn all of these off until you think you need it, then turn it on. The reason why is when you first log into the game, you're going to get bombarded with notifications and messages. Like, you know, at the top of your screen, it's going to be like, this person has listed this item for sale on the market. And you're just like, what even is that? And then like, this person has successfully enhanced the weapon or something. And you're like, no one cares. So anyway, number one priority, go into settings, show alert, quality of life, all these things. Turn these all off by default until you think you need it. And then as you play the game more and you're just like, oh, maybe I should probably look at these, then you turn these on. So yeah, trust me, everything under the shared over here is actually obnoxious. I wish it was off by default and then people turn it on when you first launch the game. But yeah, I have a video talking about my full settings and everything. So if you guys want to see everything I use, I'll leave a link in the description to that. But with that said, yeah, change your settings, UI. This is obviously an MMO, and you want to make sure you see as much as you can. So yeah, change your UI, find a character that you like, play seasonals. The first thing I would probably recommend new players doing is actually just playing through the main story and experiencing everything for the first time, just because, you know, one, you actually kind of need to do that because doing the story unlocks a lot of other things, and, you know, overall, like, you play video games mostly to experience the adventure, right? So yeah, do the story. It unlocks a bunch of stuff for you. It'll teach you how to play the game more or less. And I wish if I could go back in time and basically experience Black Desert for the first time again. I remember I had so much fun with the game. There's a lot to do, just exploring everything. And yeah, it's kind of how I feel for basically all new games these days. And also, in your first 25 hours-ish, you kind of, I wouldn't say learn the combat or life skills, but, you know, it's kind of like an intro to it. So you're just like, okay, all of these are beginner one. All my life skills are beginner one. What do I do? Just try them all out. See which one you like. And then it doesn't matter if you're making a lot of silver or anything early on. You're just kind of finding something that you enjoy doing. All right, so now that you've made it past your first like 25-ish hours, you did the story, maybe you tried a few life skills, you maybe a little bit lost every now and then. Your first, like, going into your 50 hours, like 25 to 50, what you should be doing is kind of like more or less perfecting your combat and everything, your gear. So like, let's say you're on seasonals now, maybe you didn't rush the season the first time, but you're like, okay, so how does enhancing work? I'm enhancing my Tuvala gear. You're learning how everything works, doing questing, trying out different life skills. Maybe, you know, you have found like 5 or 6 of them that you enjoy doing, and then try to establish a base of all of that, as well as working on your nodes and workers. So you see this, your worker and node empire over here. All of this looks very confusing for a new player. I remember when I first started, I didn't even go do my nodes. Like, I didn't set it up for the first like month of the game, just because, like, one, it was new and I didn't know what I was doing. But usually I tell people, just put stuff on nodes when you're a beginner. Like, unlock this, hire a few workers, put them on random stuff until you have an idea, just because as long as the workers are doing something, you're getting passive silver. But like, when you're in your first like 25 to 50 hours, that's when you should start actually looking at the nodes and the regions you discovered and actually considering, hey, what should I actually do with this and how much silver does it make? I also have a video of my entire setup, which is like a 40-minute video, so I'll leave that in the description. And I just talk about the high value nodes that are worth getting. So yeah, first 50 hours, like 25, 50, is understanding the enhancing system, maybe mastering, maybe not really mastering is the right word, but like trying out, continue combat, maybe try PvP for what that's worth, especially nodes and workers, do all that. And then after this, after your first, like, I would say 30 hours, when you're midway, start considering or world bosses and all that stuff. And depending on how many characters you have, assuming you only have one, I would recommend putting characters at world bosses, or just trying to go to all of them, like these things, like Karanda, Zarka, all that stuff. Simply because they just not only provide you with a decent amount of materials, or not really materials, but like stuff in general. It's decent silver nowadays. I think they got buffed. And doing world bosses will probably just teach you how to play your class a little bit more for what that's worth, like knowing how to dodge PvE AoEs and all that stuff. So, you know, always a good thing. Decent amount of silver if you get lucky. Pretty good. So, yeah. That is your first 50 hours. Obviously, there's a lot of things you could do as well, but ultimately, those are your basic steps. Now, hours 50 to 75. This is kind of like where you have seasonal gear, right? Like maybe your gear looks something like this. Maybe not all pens, but you're understanding how to build fail stacks, enhance your gear, and all that stuff. What I would work on afterwards is something that's pretty overlooked, is the whole crystal system. Now, I understand people's mentality of, I should get gear that gives my sheet stats, like the number over here, make this number bigger. Whereas people kind of neglect crystals early on. And what this is you probably have most of these. You probably don't have like 2 or 4 of them at the corners unlocked, simply because those require a little bit of end game stuff like Garmoth's Arts, which if you don't know what that is and you're a new player, don't worry about it. You'll figure it out later. It's late game stuff and very hard to get. But anyway, your inner like lines of crystals, you should start filling this out. And I think in my older video I talked about beginner stuff as well. Basically, start adding stuff even if it's like very cheap where you found it. So what you would do is go to the central market and where is it? Magic crystals. Start adding these. You don't have to buy the most expensive things early on. There are a lot of budget option crystals as well. So yeah, I have a video talking about that one. But yeah, ultimately, this is something that is like essentially free stats, or very cheap compared to some gear gains. And at some point, it's definitely worth looking into these, even though the number over here, it doesn't make your gear score number higher, but it makes your overall stats higher. So yeah, like at some point, the value of crystal investment is actually worth it. And also going into that, when you start grinding seriously, you probably start thinking about food buffs, potions, and everything. So at very minimum, I know a lot of people when they're first new, they don't know what kind of buffs to use. Generally, simple cron meal for PvE, and then even if you're not using endgame stuff, I'd recommend like a perfume of bracing spirits. These are pretty cheap, give monster AP, HP, and then maybe like a frenzy draft, because those are like beginner options. And then later you go into like harmonies and then the more expensive perfumes. But for beginners early on, simple cron meal, maybe a perfume if you want to, that's more or less optional. And then like frenzy drafts are entry level grinding that'll speed up things early on for all of you guys. And so yeah, crystals, learning your rotations, improving your PvE, trying out PvP at this point, because you probably tried like cap node wars or something. But yeah, in this stage, like the 75-hour point, you kind of have a general understanding. You're just improving your gear and everything else, right? So yeah, now we're going to be talking about like the final 75 to 100th hour playing this game. I know 100 hours sounds like a lot to people, but at the end of the day, this is an MMO, and people sink literally tens of thousands of hours into it. And it's not like your 5-hour single player game that you're just one and done. So yeah, I would say 100 hours goes by really fast, especially for new players getting overwhelmed with information. And you're like, okay, so my first 20 hours, probably sitting, watching a streamer, reading guides, and learning how to figure that out. I factor that in as well. So anyway, around hour 75 to 100, you're pretty maxed out on seasonals if you haven't already graduated. And you're probably thinking about setting long-term goals, because after you graduate seasons, you probably experienced life skills. You probably did some early on grinding. And maybe at this point, it's like, okay, where should I grind now? Moving and trying different grind spots. If you did life skills, you probably narrowed this list down to like maybe 5 or 6 that you do. I mean, like you do all of them, but there are probably a few of them that you enjoy doing more than others. So I would say it's better to master like a few of them than try to do all of them at once, simply because like the higher like levels you have, the more silver you make as well. So yeah, narrowing down your life skill path and then figuring out things you like. Eventually you do all of them, so it's not like you're just cutting out some of them completely unless you just don't like doing it. But anyway, setting long-term goals, whether you're a PvPer, PvEer, life skiller, try to find something that works for you. And at this point, you should probably consider figuring out what character you enjoy playing the most. I don't think it's wrong to reroll, but at the same point, the more you reroll, it kind of hinders your progression a little bit, simply because you have to, like, you figure out how to play one class and then you're re-rolling because you figure out how to play another class. So you're not doing things as optimally as you could be doing, and it'll just slow down your progress. But at the end of the day, it's a video game. I don't care what you do. Re-roll all you want. There's a tag system for that. But anyway, just learning characters takes time. It's not like you're just one and done. You understand it in an hour. All classes are easy to learn, but hard to master. But yeah, first 100 is mostly finding things you enjoy doing, narrowing down everything, understanding the basics, and yeah, ultimately setting long-term goals in this game, because that's what BDO is all about. Black Desert is not a game where, you know, like, think of World of Warcraft. You could just get carried through a raid or something and get the best gear in like a week. That does not work in BDO. It actually takes time. So anyway, I think that is what I would do for my first 100. Obviously, at the end of the day, it's a game. Play however you want. And I honestly think, like, maybe your first 1,000 hours of this game will probably be fun. And it's you just figuring out what you want to do. But anyway, that's all I wanted to talk about today. Thanks so much for watching. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. I'd love to see you come back. Got a bunch of videos lined up for the near future, and hope to see you guys next time. Peace!